It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon spinoff. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at early reviews for the Daryl Dixon spinoff. There's some very intriguing and interesting details being revealed as far as teasers. We have a statement that Daryl is at his best and it is an epic start to his new journey, which is super awesome. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. Now I'm gonna go through the Hollywood Reporter article, and this has some reviews from other sources as well. So we're gonna take a look at that, and I'm gonna share my thoughts and opinions about what's on here. So with that, let's get into it. So the title is The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Critic Reviews Strong Despite The Last of Us Comparison. Now, we talked a lot about this. We talked about the fact that many fans are bringing up this similarity between the Daryl Dixon spin-off plot and the Last of Us plot, and I went into detail about why this similarity exists and what they might be able to do with it and how they suffer in other areas. So I'm not going to really dive into that, but it's definitely a positive that despite that comparison and that similarity, it is coming out strong and critics are praising the show. Now, one thing I do want to say is if they're comparing it to HBO's The Last of Us, then I don't know how much weight this praise on the Daryl Dixon spinoff has. So let's take a look. Critics are calling it The Last of Us light, but say the 6 episodes will still have some of the best Walking Dead in years, which is awesome. It's been quite a while since we got some really good Walking Dead, so I am definitely hyped for this show because they're saying it's the best or some of the best Walking Dead we've gotten in years. Imagine a soaking wet sponge. Now imagine a pair of hands spending 13 years wringing that sponge for every last possible tiny drop of water. That's kind of how AMC has creatively handled its former mega hit Walking Dead, a post-apocalyptic drama that went from being the best series on TV a decade ago to seeing more like one of its weary undead shamblers, being forced to march on and on for 177 episodes amid cast exits and diminishing audience. 284 episodes if you count spin-off Fear the Walking Dead. I agree with all of that 100%. I mean, they're not exaggerating. The Walking Dead at its prime was the best, but they just dragged it on and on and on without adding a lot of intriguing or interesting stories, which made the whole thing repetitive and a drag. So I'm going to continue yet AMC's latest effort to spin off the series. The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is earning early praise from critics as the best Walking Dead in years, which is awesome. The official premise is this. Daryl, played by Norman Reedus, washes ashore in France and struggles to piece together how he got there and why. The series tracks his journey across a broken but resilient France as he hopes to find a way back home. As he makes the journey, though, the connection he forms along the way complicates his ultimate plan. I mean, even from that, it sort of sounds like The Last of Us. You just have to swap a few of the words and a few names, and it'll be exactly like The Last of Us. Anyway, now here's an unofficial description, which you'll notice is a bit more clear and hooky. Daryl must escort a young girl who might be humanity's savior across a treacherous, zombie-filled landscape in France. We've talked a lot about that journey and that mission, and obviously that mission is what really brings up the comparisons to The Last of Us, which is also the plot of HBO's The Last of Us. So obviously they're also mentioning that. Something that led to EW headline, Are Daryl Dixon and The Last of Us the same show? Says executive producer Greg Nicotero. I remember watching the first episode of The Last of Us and going, guys, but we were already deep into production when The Last of Us came out. One quick criticism here, I mean, The Last of Us video game has been out for years, so this is not a good excuse. I'm just saying. Of course, the hugely successful Last of Us game came out in 2013. Again, they're pretty much like filling the gaps as far as things that I'm talking about as well. Anyway, back to the article. And it's tough to imagine a team of creatives working on a zombie TV show over so many years were entirely unaware of its storyline. But okay. There are probably a limited number of truly great post-apocalyptic zombie story tropes, and after nearly 200 episodes, the Walking Dead team might have literally used up all the other ones. There's a lot of truth to that as well. It's not really about the storyline being unique, it's about how you tell it. You have to tell these stories in a unique and intriguing way. Even though the story might not be unique, the way you tell the story can be unique. Just something to put out there. The early reviews are very good for the show's 6-episode debut season, and a second season has been ordered. Obviously, production on it has already started, so that's awesome. But back to the article, right now there are only 5 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but they're all positive. Some sample. The Wrap says, "Can it resuscitate a franchise many feel has long since died? The jury is still out. But as a standalone entry, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is surprisingly gorgeous. Soul-stirring and riveting watch." Norman Reedus said they were making art with the show. And you know what? He wasn't lying. And this has to do with, obviously, the fact that they're focusing on this show being really artsy. So that's awesome. They talked a lot about some beautiful French post-apocalyptic landscapes that they're showcasing in the series, so that's awesome. Now, when it comes to the fact that they're showcasing that, like, beautiful post-apocalyptic landscapes, it's also very similar to what The Last of Us is really known for. Obviously, take out the France component because obviously Last of Us was not in France, but other than that, you can kind of see why even in this regard they're comparing it to The Last of Us. Anyway, next review is from Total Film. This is the quote, "With its spin-offs, the franchise has carved out an opportunity to start afresh, to streamline itself and revert back to its glory days. Well, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon doesn't quite achieve that, but it comes much closer than its predecessor, The Walking Dead Dead City, and close enough really to make it worth your while. At least it's better than Dead City." That's what they're saying. Next is Digital Spy. "If anything, the move to France has inspired a much needed boost of creativity with some of the best set pieces that The Walking Dead has ever seen. And beyond just Daryl's own story, the spin-off in particular also has us excited for the franchise future in general, more than we have been for quite some time." And obviously this goes back to the discussion about the landscapes being showcased in the Daryl Dixon spin-off, so not much to really add to that. Next is the review from Comic Book. "Daryl Dixon is epic and entertaining as it expands the Walking Dead mythology with rich world building. France feels like a lived-in, dramatically different corner of the Walking Dead universe, populated by an intriguing cast of new characters. Norman Reedus is magnifique." I think that means magnificent in French. Obviously, because it's in France, they said it in French, so kind of makes sense. Anyway, "Reorganized by what is destined to become event television. Already renewed for a second season, the new series delivers what Walking Dead fans want, and something entirely unexpected. Not much to break down, I mean, it's all positive. I talked about how they teased that this is the best Daryl Dixon that we've seen in a while, and that was straight from comicbook.com because obviously they're saying that Daryl Dixon is epic and entertaining, so that's awesome. Next review is from Collider. "Does it feel like an approximation of other apocalyptic storytelling, like the aforementioned The Last of Us? More than a little. Is it compelling, or is it as compelling, I should say? Not really. So, a little bit of a negative review here as far as the comparison to The Last of Us. Back to it. It is still on a higher end of what we've come to expect from The Walking Dead. Absolutely. But there's still a long road ahead for it to be truly essential television once more. For the first time in a long time, Daryl Dixon feels alive. Like there are layers to his character beyond just that he can shoot a crossbow really well. Wherever he goes next in the new story, even with all of its flaws, both the character and the spin-off series manage to stand on their own 2 feet within the vast Walking Dead universe. So again, more or less of the same based on the other stuff that we talked about. The Collider review is the more negative of all of the reviews, so something to keep in mind. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through. I mean, I'm super hyped for the Daryl Dixon spinoff. We only got a few days to go until the premiere, and based on everything we've heard on the reviews, it seems like it's gonna be worth a watch and it's gonna be entertaining. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. That's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.